All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of another Bourbon Show. Tonight we're keeping on the Michter's train here. Another night for Michter's month, and tonight we're drinking this one here, Michter's 10-year bourbon. Steven, what do you think of it?
I mean, I gotta say, for Michter's as a whole, I've been saying this a lot, but I really want to hammer home that everything looks the same for them, and that's either good or bad depending on, you know, how you feel about them overall. This one spices it up a little bit, I guess, because they got like 3 different colors on their label going on. So it's a little more than some of the last couple. I think it's okay. Again, I'm just going to give it a 6, but I do appreciate that they put the 10 in there, but it's a little hard to tell that unless you're a Michter's fan. I don't think you're necessarily going to know that this is like a special release. I kind of have the same problem with Michter's as I do with like Elijah Craig, for instance, and that it just kind of is what it is. I mean, you're either a fan of it or you're not. It's not a super amazing label to me, but it tells you what it is. If you look closely, it's not going to stand out on the shelf though, to me.
Okay. All right. So I want to throw out there for the listeners and the viewers, if you're new, Steven rates the label itself, not the bottle. And to me, that makes a huge difference on this one. Like, I agree, the label is nothing special. It's the label is just a minor change offshoot of their standard label. But the bottle on this one, to me, makes it stand out as being a really special bottle. Like, if you see the bottle, I think, on the shelf, then I think you recognize that it's something special. But if we're just talking about the label, Steven, I agree with you. Again, you don't rate the bottle, but if you were rating the bottle, would you then say that it looks special or still no?
I think it looks nicer than the average Michter's bottle. It's a unique shape. I don't love the shape though. I think it's pretty good, but I don't love it. I think it's reminiscent to me like Maker's 46 or something like that. There's a lot of Maker's bottles that look similar overall to it. I appreciate that they're doing something different with the bottle because it is a special release. So you should spice it up a little bit, like I said. I do appreciate that, but I just think that you got to bring something more. I will mention the bottle shape, and I'll mention if a bottle shape is suited to the label or vice versa. But you're right. I don't rate the bottle itself.
So the one thing about this bottle that to me tells people that it's a special bottle, and I know it's silly, but the amount of glass at the base, right? Yeah. The amount of glass at the base to me kind of says that whoever made this wants you to notice, because that is a thick piece of glass.
It's a thick boy.
It's real thick. And like that's a full inch probably of nothing but glass basically to protect it. So
yeah. I got a full inch for you.
I will say like the amber color of the bourbon with the label itself, I think like looks really cool together. Like that color of the whiskey with the label looks cool.
Yeah, it's a great color.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's your camera. It's almost like a reddish brown color. I mean, that's how it looks too. But with it being in a sample bottle, I can't see it as well. Yeah.
So a few things about Michter's 10. Again, it's an undisclosed mash bill. We don't really know what the full mash bill is. We know that it's at least 51% corn. We also pretty much also know that it's the other 2 ingredients are rye and malted barley. Beyond that, we really don't know. It is single barrel. It is 47.2% alcohol, so a 94.4 proof. So once again, a low proofer from Michter's. And they do vary batch to batch, like as far as like flavor goes, but it's always 94.4 proof, and it's always the same mash bill. Um, I'm pretty sure we are now like this batch number for, excuse me, barrel number for anybody out there is barrel 20D698. Um, I only bring that up because I think that this is now into the actual Michter's distillate barreled all on site. People gave them shit for a while because they sourced their liquor, but they were open about the fact that they sourced, and it was contract distilled, so they were telling people exactly what they wanted made and how they wanted it made. But I think that we are now into, for the 10-year, we are now into their own production facility. I think somebody will tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong. I'm sure they will.
So they didn't make their own stuff for a while, and they didn't even appear on our podcast. So 2 strikes.
Not yet. We'll see. I'm gonna send Mr. Bevel the video of what happened with Dustin Diamond, and we'll see if he changes his tune at that point. But
henceforth known as the ultimatum.
It's the ultimatum, right? Like I've got the pictures ready to go. Like they're ready to go. All I got to do is click send, dude. And I've got your cell phone number, Mr. Bevel. Fucking watch yourself. Don't fuck with me, man.
It's our only card, so why not play it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Dan's taint is our only card.
Well, what do you say we start sipping on it? Let's nose it first, obviously, but ready to go for it?
Yeah.
Now, you guys have never had it before, right?
That's correct.
It's correct.
Okay. What do you think of it?
I feel like right off the bat, I don't know exactly why, but I feel like it smells like Twizzlers to me a little bit. Like there's some, to which I don't necessarily mean licorice. It's like sort of that artificial cherry smell.
I can actually see that. I like that, Steven. Where did you read that? Did you get that from Bourbon Banter? Or? No answer. Okay.
Obviously, no. Jeez, I thought it was rhetorical. Jesus. On trial. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm picking up. I'm just picking sort of like a sort of a sourish, artificialish sort of like cherry or raspberry type flavor.
I was gonna say like a chocolate raspberry like mixture of the two. It's very chocolatey.
Yeah, I get the chocolate, and Stephen, I don't think had you not said that, I would have made that connection, but you're exactly right. Like, dude, seriously, I'm not even doing this sarcastically. That was really fucking nice. Good job.
It's just how you clap sarcastically as well, but this time it's not sarcastic.
This time it's not sarcastic. No,
got it.
No, it was legit this time.
Well, I appreciate that.
No problem. All right, let's give her a sip.
I'm excited to see what it tastes like because I am fond of the nose. It's pretty distinctive.
I get a lot of chocolate. I'm trying to like pinpoint what it is. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's like a.
I get chocolate as well. I can see that. I think that it's what'd you say the proof was on this, Dan?
94.4.
It seems like way higher than that. That's my first impression. My first impression is I haven't felt a punch like this since we had Stag Junior. And I think the closest equivalent I would have is Stag Junior to what this sort of experience is.
I wholeheartedly agree. 100%. I think that the flavor profile, the like what you get from it, the oakiness, like there's a lot of oakiness to it, right? Like you get the oakiness, you get chocolate, and it's like all very, very, like it pops in your mouth. And again, to me, this is just a really great example of what you can do with a low proof if it's done right. I should stop. I should stop fucking building them up though, because I want to hear what you guys have to say about it more.
It does pack a punch for being 94.4. It's weird. Like the finish is still there. I haven't had a sip in like a minute, and I still taste it. A lot of maple syrup, chocolate. I still get that like Twizzler-esque taste you were talking about, Steven. It's very similar what you smell on the nose to what you drink, I feel like. You know, you get a lot more oak on the finish, but it's solid. It's solid. I know it's not, you can't really compare this to the last one because this seems to be a lot more of a specialty item than their standard bourbon.
Oh, very
Right?
much so. I mean, it's
Yeah.
aged an additional like 7 years,
Yeah.
and it's a single barrel, and yeah. So I mean, the one thing with a single barrel is any single barrel, you might have one single barrel that just fucking blows you away, and the next one doesn't. But like, they don't put out many single barrel bourbons. Like, they are very few and far between. And the reason for that is that if it's just a mediocre barrel, it doesn't make it 10 years. It goes into the bourbon. It goes into whatever else. Which is why there are so few Michter's 10-year single barrels that exist.
What do these usually flip for? I mean, what's standard price on a bottle like this?
So if memory serves, SRP is like 130.
Oh, it's pricey.
It is, but again, it's very rare.
Yeah.
Secondary sites get way the fuck up there. I think 400 is about normal. Let me check here.
400, I bet it goes even more. If it's SRP is 130, then I could see that probably in the 500-600.
So Bourbon Central 300, Primetime 400, Wooden Cork 400. Trying to find one that I actually trust. Yeah, there's just, honest to God, there's not all that many out there on the secondary market even.
It's almost got like a creamy maple syrupy texture too. Very thick, like very thick. It definitely bats up, I feel like. Or I just can't believe this is a 94.4.
Yeah.
You know, all the characteristics, it's awesome they could do that. Like if I was making whiskey and I was making a 94.4, it'd probably taste like shit. You know what I mean? Like they must have some good people working over there because you don't really see this from a lot of places. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't really think. I mean, who else is making bourbon like this and whiskey like this at such low proofs that bat higher than they seem?
Nobody that I know of. Nobody that I know of. There might be a craft distillery out there, but like one of the things that, again, there've been a couple episodes in a row where I hammer home that they barrel everything at 102. But the thing is that like a lot of distilleries, even if they barrel it at 102, they distill it initially to like 115, 120, and then they proof it down. So they distill it to 115, 120, and then they add water to bring the proof down to whatever it is they barrel it at. But Michter's, like, they don't even distill it up that high, right? Like they distill it to like 103, 104, maybe 108, because you can't distill to 102. You can distill close to 102, right? Like, so they distill it to just to get it above that, and then they proof it down just a little bit before they barrel it. And that's a huge thing. And that's one of the things that I haven't discussed before is that, yeah, they barrel it at 102, but they don't even distill it all that high to begin with. So, but yeah, online, I only saw like 3 or 4 places that you can even get Michter's 10 on the secondary market, and they're all in the $400 range. So,
Well, I wouldn't pay that for it, but
oh, I wouldn't either.
yeah, I do like it, but it's such a steep price for the bottle, even the MSRP, that I'm not sure I could recommend it to most people. You know what I mean? I'm sure we'll get into that later with our reviews, but my initial reaction is just I like it, but I'm turned off by its elusiveness and being in a position where I tell people whether or not how good it is. That's at least part of it. It's like if you see it on the shelf ever, then that'd be one thing, you know. But yeah, I mean it is good. It tastes good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, fuck, we're on the topic. We may as well talk about it, Steven. You fucking party
I,
pooper,
I
ruin
think
it for us.
I think the people that I would recommend it most to are Buffalo Trace fans,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, because a lot of the flavor profiles that I'm getting from this is stuff that I get from different whiskeys in the Buffalo Trace lineup. Um, it's I get sort of like that cherry raspberry in all the Buffalo Trace bourbons.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you're somebody who, we talk about this a lot, like a lot of people who just like, you got to give other stuff a try, and expand your horizons a little bit. It's a disservice to yourself to just only wait around for the Buffalo Trace to get restocked or whatever. And I think that this is one that if it was more readily available, you had access to it, it was a reasonable price. This would be one that I would say for those people, this is a great one to jump to because it shows you what else is out there, and at only 94 proof, if you're not even used to drinking that high of a proof, um, it's just a really easy one to recommend in that way, taking cost and availability out of it.
Yeah. So like my thoughts on it are um do I think how do I put it? If you're at a liquor store or walking around somewhere and you see a bottle of Michter's 10 at SRP, which again, I think it's 130. But if you see a bottle of it sitting on the shelf and you happen to have $130 sitting around not doing anything, and it's not going to hurt your investment portfolio, and it's not going to hurt whether or not you can take your wife or your husband out for dinner, and it's not going to impact your life in any way, shape, or form, then I say you spend the fucking money. I think it's worth it 100% if it doesn't impact you in any negative way whatsoever. However, if that means that you have to eat leftovers 2 extra nights next week, or can't get your kid a basketball or whatever the fuck it is, then no, don't do it. Don't fucking spend $130 if it negatively impacts you in any way, shape, or form. But if it doesn't, then absolutely. I think it's worth the money so long as it doesn't impact you in a negative way. But I'd say the same thing about a bottle of Jack Daniels. If spending $20 on a bottle of liquor negatively impacts you, then don't buy the fucking Jack Daniels, right? So to me it's worth $130, but only if you got it to spend.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I think I would rather. I like this a lot, but like Angel's Envy Rides, you can find it for $90. Say, $50 cheaper, and I might like that one even a little more than this. So it's the pricing is just crazy to me. But I mean, it's worth it. I wouldn't spend $400 on it. I'd probably go to a bar and spend 12, $15 on a shot of it. And I've had to sneeze this entire time, and it just won't come out.
Yeah, SRP is 130.
130.
Yep. Yeah. So Steven, let's enough bourbon. Like, I'm tired of talking bourbon. This is bullshit. Steven, so you bought a house, you're moved in, and nobody can tell.
Yes.
Very different background.
Sorry. Hold on. Let's see. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, Jesus. I needed to. I didn't want to spook anybody. I forgot to put on my background. Sorry about that. Now that we're nice and cozy again. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, there's very little difference there.
I don't know. I mean, there's some
The boxes fell down.
Yeah.
That's
there's some commonalities, but I mean, it's a work in progress. It's been a long week. We got robbed by the moving company. You know, just all the fun you have of moving places.
was it just the earbuds?
Yeah, as far as we know right now, it's just earbuds that they took, which so far the moving company kind of reacted like, you know, yeah, yeah, they're gonna take shit. Like, yeah, it's a rough job. We pay them nothing. They're all around your stuff. Yeah, they're going to grab some of it. Like, it
Are
is
we
what
sure
it is.
Jesse didn't just lose them?
We are. Yeah, we are. But trust me, that was like the biggest possibility in my head for the longest time, and we had to work backwards from that. Also, I just noticed I have the cat tower in like the exact same place. So if I can like wipe this away and you can see the cat tower like behind me, see that?
I honest to God think that that's part of the reason why it looks so similar to me. Like, because it is
and the dude poster
right there.
And the dude poster right there.
Yeah.
This is like one of those like optical illusions where like you have to see what's different in the two pictures.
Dude, I don't think you actually moved, man.
You just put a fake closet door up. That's it.
Ryan's like a Steven Truther.
I bet this guy can walk.
As I live and breathe, I've never been so sure of anything in my life. Yeah, so we're settling in, and yeah, it's been good. We finally have a place for me to put all my whiskey. Right now, it's in the basement on some like built-in shelving.
Okay.
And it's just nice to have a place for everything. It's just nice to have like all the little stuff. Like we have an ice cream maker. We have an ice cube maker now in our fridge. All that stuff is just like, you know, a 2-car garage that's connected to the house. So it's like, you know, all these little luxuries you take for granted, and then we're still moving stuff from our apartment. And when we drive back there now, it's like, you know, we have to like fight over our one assigned parking space that somebody's already taken like a day after we moved out. You know, it's just like, how are we living this way for so long?
Yeah.
You know, so it's been good overall.
How are your pets? Confused?
So we have a dog and a cat, and the dog settled in almost immediately because as soon as we like let her loose in the yard for the first time, she was like, "Oh, this." She like got it. She's like, "Oh, this is mine."
Mm-hmm.
You know, the cat was like way more skittish, but at this point, after a few days, they both pretty much settled in, and like every once in a while there'll be a little noise, like the dishwasher will come on for the first time. They'll be like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, you know, or they'll hear the garage door come up and things like that, and I'm doing the same thing, honestly. Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night, just like, "What the fuck is that?" You know. But we're all settling in slowly but surely, I think.
For the listeners and the viewers, Ryan had a bachelor party approximately 11 months after he got married, which is the dumbest goddamn thing. Just could not be dumber.
COVID was happening, you know, now that hoax is over.
I would still say, Dan, that the scheduling of it was still rushed, actually.
It absolutely was still rushed. Even though it was 11 months after he got married.
About a month ago, my brother was like, well, you know what? We gotta do something, because we had a ceremony for my wife's side, and now we're doing one here in Illinois for my family, just because of COVID and everything. And then I'm like, I didn't get a bachelor party. All that shit was going on last year, so why not do it 11 months later?
I put more forethought into trying to give you a legit bachelor party than your brother did 11 months after you got married. Now, realistically, all I did was convince Nolan to send $50 to a stripper. But I mean, that was a thought, right? Like, I made an effort.
She didn't show up, but
She didn't show up, and she didn't get her, like, Nolan didn't get her money back. But that's the reason I convinced Nolan to send her the money in the first place. Like, so what did you do during your bachelor party? What did you
You know,
like?
we Friday we went to a well, we got dinner. We are hanging out down there. We ended up the night at a cigar bar. And I
In
smoked
Milwaukee,
about
right?
in Milwaukee, and I'm blanking the name on it, but we were like standing in line to go to this bar called I think Harps or something like that, and there was like a line of like 50 people. I'm like, I'm not gonna stand out here and wait, so I just typed in like worst dive bars in Milwaukee, and then we found one. So we get dropped off to it, and there's this like lit up green building. Like that place looks awesome. We should go there actually. So we ditched the dive bar. We go in. It's a cigar bar, and it was badass. It was cool. They're like, "Hey, we have a rooftop here. You might not know about." I'm like, "Oh, really? This place looks like it's straight out like the 40s." They're like, "Yeah, you walk up these stairs, kind of like a maze. You figure out where you'll figure it out." And we're like, "Oh, okay." So we go up these rickety stairs, and it's like a house out of the 40s. It's nuts. And we're like just walking around. There's like random people on couches smoking cigars, like people making out. I'm like, what is going on here? We eventually find a stairwell up, and it was like the biggest rooftop bar I've ever seen. It was huge, giant. It was packed. It's like a hidden gem in Milwaukee. If I wish I remembered the name, but I don't. But I smoked like
I
2 or 3 cigars, and I have no fucking voice. Sawdust on the ground, like single stalled bathrooms in a bunch of places. I'm like, this is fucking weird. Bro, I'll look it up right now. Milwaukee bar cigar. And we went to the Brewers White Sox game on Saturday,
Mhm.
and it looked like someone pitching out there. It looked like if I ate myself when I had long hair, like some fat dude just killing it for the Brewers, just beating the shit out of the Sox. I don't know this guy's name, but he looked like a whale out there pitching. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Could have been Corbin Burns, maybe.
Yeah, that dude with the weird name. I'm like, who's this fat ass pitching? I was amazed, you know. So I'm just talking shit about him and then the Packers the entire time, and people are looking at me. We were in some really shithole bar, and I just started insulting this lady. She's like, "Don't talk about my state like this." I'm like, "Oh, the Packers blow, whatever I say when I'm drunk." She's like, "I'm actually from Illinois." I'm like, "Then fuck you. I talk all the shit I want in here. What do you mean your state?" Fuck that. Oh, it's
So
called
okay.
Shaker's Cigar Bar. Shaker's.
Shaker's Cigar Bar. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like an health code violation. Is really, if I'm being honest here, it sounds like a health code violation. All right. What do you say we go ahead and rate this motherfucker?
Let's do it.
All right. Who wants to go first? If nobody else will, I will. I'm happy to. But if somebody else wants to, they can.
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay. Maybe a little bit because I'm a Michter's fanboy. Happy to announce that. I always am. But I do think that this is an amazing pour. Our rankings are never supposed to include the price you pay. Based specifically on how this compares to Jim Beam White Label, this to me is an 8-9.
Wow.
And going back to what we were talking about earlier in the show about the SRP being $130, I think that if you see it on a shelf and $130 won't hurt you in any way, shape, or form, drop the $130. Know that you are taking home an amazing whiskey that, like, it bats way above its proof. It bats way above what you would think it would be. It's just a really, really delicious pour that's complex. Like, it's super complex. We could sit here and break down the flavors for 20 minutes, but that would be super fucking boring and pretentious. It's got this like nice, like somewhat dry finish that makes you want to take another sip. So yeah, for me it's an 8-9, and I'm glad to have the bottle on my shelf.
To me, I'm going to be giving this one an 8.0, right on the dot. It's not enough for me to give. We've had a lot of I've had a lot of 8s recently, I think. And this one to me is just a little bit behind those. This is still good enough that I think it's above the 7 range. But to me, when I drink it, I just feel like there's so much else that I'd rather have. And there's so much that I'd rather have at like a lower price point, um, because it's just, I feel like Michter's is really in their sweet spot with the rise. And there's something about the bourbons that always just is a little bit lacking to me. And I just feel like there's so much that tastes really identical to this, that I would rather have, whether it be like a Stag Junior or something like that. Again, like we've talked about with several of the Michter's offerings, the really unique part of this is that it's 94 proof. So if this was something that was a little more available or a little cheaper, I think it's, if you're ever at a bar, I'll say this: if you're ever at a bar and this is on offer and it's like a reasonable price that you can pay to try it, I think it's worth trying. It's an interesting one. It's good. It's good. It's interesting. It's worth trying. But this is one that I would not own or try to go get a full bottle of personally. But I liked it overall. To me, it's still an 8.0, and it's very good. But I'd rather have any of the ryes that Michter's makes instead.
Hey, for listeners, viewers, whatever, quick reminder, our scale goes from 1 to 10, with a 5.0 being Jim Beam White Label. So this is not a schoolhouse grade where an 8 is a B. An 8 is like really fucking good.
Yeah,
right?
it's still significantly better than a Jim Beam White Label. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's significantly not as good as something that I would give like a 9 or so.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that sometimes we forget that we do have occasional, new listeners,
Yeah.
and they may not recognize that an 8.0 on our scale is a really, really good pour.
Well, I'll say even just for Michter's, because you have the benefit of us going through Michter's month right now, you can go back to last week and I gave just the standard Michter's bourbon like a 4.8 or something like that, just to
Mhm.
give you an idea of my own personal scale and how much better this is compared to that, in my opinion. And yet still I put it, behind the rise that I've had.
Yeah.
Dan, do they make a toasted bourbon at all, or is it just toasted rye?
They have, as far as I know, no, they did have a toasted bourbon. I've never had it though.
Yeah, I feel like this has all of the right things that, like, if the barrel was toasted with these notes that it has, like the chocolate, the cherry, kind of that Twizzler-esque, I feel like it would be an awesome like 9.0, 9.1, like right up there with the other, like with their toasted rye and with like the Angel's Envy rye and the Elijah Craig toasted barrel. It's got it's got a big finish. I mean, it punches you right in the throat. I do like it. I was hoping it'd be a little more decadent. I do get like chocolate on it, and I do get like the like kind of like the toasted cherryness of it, but I was just hoping for more decadent whiskey from them. But maybe one day when they have a toasted bourbon, I'll go crazy for it. But I still love this. I think last week I gave the regular one like a 6.2. This is definitely miles better. Not to sell short their other one like Steven did last week. I just wanted to call him out. I just love calling Steven out because he's an asshole. No, it's a solid 8.5. I mean, you're not going to get many bourbons that are better than this. The price is a little high, yes. I don't know if I would buy a $130 bottle. I have in the past of other things, and this is definitely better. A few things we've done on the show that I won't name for reasons of my own, but for a $130 bottle that we've had, this is probably the top tier one that we've had. But there are many bourbons and ryes you can find that $30, $40 cheaper that kind of give you those same notes. But
Yeah.
if I see it on the shelf, I mean, if I have a couple drinks in me, I go to a liquor store and I see it, I'm like, all right, I'll put it on the credit card.
Yep.
Yeah.
We know, Ryan. We already know.
Yeah, Dad's money's always good here.
Another Bourbon show. Another Bourbon show.
I dated a deaf girl for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that?
And this was back in like the late 90s. And it was, she ended up breaking up with me. And the reason is because I kept fucking with their, like, the person who typed. Because back then, the only way to communicate, like, there were no text messages, right? So in order for us to talk on the phone, I would call and I would be talking to a human being who would type what I was saying to her. She would type to them, and that person would say it to me. And I would always say like the most disturbing, fucked up things just to get that person to have to like type them to her. And she said I was too childish. And I was like, well, yeah.